Hey there, so glad you're here. This is Reddit Stories Podcast. Relax, you're safe here. Here's our first story. Karen accuses me of stealing her dog. So there I was at the pharmacy, minding my own business, when I spotted a fluffy little dog tied near the entrance. Now, I'm a huge dog person, so of course, my attention immediately went to the adorable little pup. It was just sitting there, looking up at me with those big puppy eyes, like it was lost and waiting for someone to come to the rescue. I looked around for any sign of an owner, but there was no one in sight. No one nearby seemed to be looking for the dog, so I decided to take action. I checked the collar, and sure enough, there was a phone number. I immediately called it, thinking, okay, this will be easy. I'll just let the owner know that their dog is waiting outside and everything will be fine. No answer. Fine, no big deal. I tried again. Still nothing. All right, maybe they're busy. But this dog seemed way too friendly and chill to be left alone like this for too long, right? I mean, it's not like the dog was just napping in a comfy spot. It looked a little too lost and vulnerable for my taste. So I figured if I was going to be hanging out there anyway, I might as well make sure this pup was having a good time while we waited. I dashed into the store, bought a small bag of dog treats, and returned to the dog, thinking that this was the nice thing to do. I gave it a couple of treats, petted it, and started chatting with it like it was my new best friend. Hey, dogs are better listeners than most people, okay? I'm standing there enjoying the moment when suddenly I see a woman walking towards us. Karen, as we'll call her. She looked mildly irritated, but I thought, okay, maybe she's just happy to get her dog back. Nope. Karen immediately starts giving me the stink eye and says, "What do you think you're doing with my dog?" Now I'm a little confused, but I figure, okay, I can explain. So I start to say, "Oh, I was just trying to help out. I thought he was lost. I called the number on the collar and..." Before I can finish, she cuts me off and goes full Karen mode. "He's not lost. I just left him here to sit in the sun." I was like, sit in the sun? What? She was totally serious and said she needed to run inside real quick, that her dog liked the sun and he was fine. She then said, "People these days don't mind their own business. Instead of trying to steal my dog, why don't you go find your own?" At this point, I'm standing there with the dog treats in my hand, feeling like a total fool. I didn't even know what to say. I had genuinely thought I was doing something nice, and now I was the one being accused of trying to steal someone's dog. I again tried to explain that I was just concerned, thought the dog was lost. Karen interrupts, raising her voice a little, and starts lecturing me about how I clearly don't know how to take care of a dog. Apparently, the dog was just fine sitting there in the sun, and by feeding him treats, I was making him fat and risking health issues. I was stunned, trying to explain that I was just trying to help, but Karen wasn't having it. I apologized again, saying I didn't mean to overstep and that I was just worried. She grabbed the leash and started walking away, muttering something about how people don't know their boundaries anymore. Meanwhile, I was left standing there like an idiot, holding a bag of treats the dog didn't even get to finish. So yeah, long story short, I tried to do something nice and it completely backfired. The dog wasn't lost, I wasn't a hero, and Karen got mad at me for, well, caring too much. At least the dog seemed pretty chill though, right? I honestly don't get how Karen could be so rude about this. You saw a dog that looked like it was in need of help, and you did what any decent person would do. You tried to make sure it was okay. It's not like you snatched it up or tried to steal it. You gave it some love and care while waiting for its owner. If anything, Karen should have been thankful that you were looking out for her dog. Some people seriously overreact, especially when they think that they know everything. The dog was probably fine. The least she could have done was appreciate the gesture, not act like you were the villain. Don't worry, OP. I'm sure you made that pup's day. Look, I get it. You thought you were doing something nice, but as a pet owner myself, I think it's important to respect a pet's routine and diet. Karen left the dog outside because it likes sitting in the sun, which is fine. Some dogs have sensitive stomachs, and feeding them treats that aren't part of their regular diet can cause stomach upset. Plus, some treats, especially the ones with high fat content, can lead to kidney problems if overconsumed. It's not about being ungrateful, it's about ensuring the dog's health and well being. I think if you were really concerned, you could have waited for the owner to return instead of feeding the dog things it might not be used to. Pet owners know their pet's needs best, and that includes deciding what and when to feed them. So, Karen, you left your dog tied up outside a pharmacy to sit in the sun?
Yes, he likes it out here. He's an outdoorsy type of dog.
Right. So when OP fed him some treats and hung out with him for 10 minutes, they were just intruding on his me time, I guess.
Exactly. He didn't need a snack. He was fine. I'm a responsible pet owner, unlike some people.
Got it. So I'll just assume you're not a fan of doggy daycare either.
Not at all. They spoil them. Dogs need independence. And sun.
My wife's mental health is slowly unraveling, and I don't know how much longer I can keep holding on. Hi, my name's Reginald. I'm 62 years old. Been married to my wife Patricia for 34 years. We've had a good life, raised 2 daughters, built a business together, bought houses, cars, all the usual stuff. Our 2 daughters are grown now, both independent in their own ways. The life we built together was solid, built on hard work and a lot of patience. For the most part, we've been partners in crime, and it's been pretty smooth sailing until December of 2023. That's when everything started to fall apart. It didn't happen all at once. It wasn't like a light went off and things changed overnight. It was slow, subtle at first. Patricia, who I've known for decades, started changing in ways I didn't know how to deal with. It started small at first. Accusations of cheating, stuff like that, even though I was just running an errand for her. But then it escalated. She accused me of stealing from her, despite the fact that I'm the one who's been running the business for years. She hasn't actively worked in the business since about 10 years ago, but suddenly she thought I was taking money from her, money she hadn't worked for in a decade. If I was gone for more than 5 minutes to unload something from the car, she'd say I was off seeing someone else. She had started checking my phone, accusing me of hiding things from her, even though I had never been the kind of man to hide anything. Every week, it seemed like she had some new wild accusation. One time, she even claimed I had a kid from a one-night stand that never happened. That issue went on for several weeks. It was like living in a nightmare. I tried to brush it off at first. Maybe she's just stressed, I told myself. But then it started getting worse. And it wasn't just words anymore. No, it was physical. It started small, her pushing me, getting angry over nothing, but then it escalated. I would do my best to not retaliate. I've never been the type of man to do something back, but sometimes when she'd push me, she'd end up with a few bruises from me just defending myself. Then she had threatened to get me arrested. And it wasn't just me. Our daughters saw it too. They've always known their mom is a bit high-strung, but this was something else. They've begged me to leave her for several months now, said it wasn't healthy, but I just couldn't do it. She's my wife. I've stood by her for more than 3 decades. We built a life together. I thought that counted for something. Things didn't improve in 2024. The business got slower, which added more stress. Then Patricia's older brother, who was single and had very little support, had a stroke, and I had to take care of him for months. He passed away earlier this year, and I was completely drained. But here's the thing. Through it all, I've kept trying to be patient with my wife. She's not the same person she was when we first got married, but I'm still here, trying to make this work. And Patricia? She's still slipping further. She still wouldn't admit anything was wrong. She'd tell me I was imagining it all, or she'd get angry when I tried to talk about her behavior. Every time I try to talk to her about it, it turns into a screaming match. She becomes physical, and it gets to the point where I'm afraid of even bringing it up. And still, I stayed, because in some twisted way, I believed things would get better. She had been through a lot in her life too. Her family, they weren't exactly easy on her either. 2 of her aunts were diagnosed with schizophrenia and spent years in a mental facility. Her uncle, who had his own struggles, ended up jumping into a river. It's hard to explain, but when Patricia started showing signs of something similar, I just couldn't bring myself to walk away. I didn't know what to do. I felt like if I left, she'd fall apart completely. Now she's still having episodes, accusing me of having an illegitimate child, saying an ex of hers gave her money for an iPhone and she wants to buy one. All this is happening while we're dealing with major house repairs that are long overdue, and it's just me and our daughters handling the expenses. I've been the one keeping the family afloat, but they've started running out of patience with Patricia. They want me to file for divorce, and honestly, part of me agrees with them. And now it feels like I'm drowning too. It's not just the accusations anymore. It's the attacks, the confusion, and the pain of watching someone I love fall apart. Our daughters are angry at me. I can see it in their eyes. They've had enough. They tell me every other day now that I need to file for divorce, but I can't bring myself to do it. I don't know if it's loyalty or guilt, but I'm stuck. It's like I'm standing in quicksand, and no matter what I do, I keep sinking deeper. Patricia won't get help. Every time I suggest it, she flips out. She says nothing's wrong, and she loses it on me. And the thing is, she's always been like this to the girls. She relied on nannies and extended family when they were kids. She was never really there for them in the way a mother should have been. I think that's why they don't understand why I can't just let her go. I'm not sure I do either. And then there's the older daughter. She's been the one trying to hold everything together. She's helped with the house repairs and even put money into getting us a new car. But now, she's ready to go no contact. I'm afraid she'll leave for good and I'll lose both of them. I don't know how I'll handle it. I've tried to protect them from this, but I think they're already too affected by it all. I think they're starting to see me as weak for not doing more. I've always been the patient one. People have always told me how admirable my patience is, but it feels more like a prison now. I've been patient, but now it's starting to break me. I don't know if I'm asking for advice here or if I just needed to vent somewhere. I've never been one to talk about my feelings. I've always kept everything bottled up, but I'm starting to wonder if that's been my biggest mistake. I don't know what to do anymore. Do I keep holding on, or do I finally let go? Is it too late to walk away? I don't even know what I'm asking for, but I'm just so tired. P.S. Sorry if my English isn't perfect. I'm not a native speaker, but I wanted to share my story in the best way I could. Thanks for understanding. It's heartbreaking to watch someone you love struggle, especially when they don't recognize that there's something wrong. OP, you've shown more patience and care than most people could ever imagine. It's tough, I know, but you've given it your all. Sometimes, though, loving someone also means knowing when to let go for your own peace and well-being. Your daughters are seeing the strain, and I think that's why they want you to make a change. I wish you strength, no matter what decision you make. Mr. Reginald, I can feel the love you have for your wife in every word you've written. The Bible talks about unconditional love, and you've truly shown that in the way you've stood by her through all of this. But it's also important to remember that love doesn't mean allowing yourself to be hurt. Even in the hardest of situations, sometimes love means setting boundaries for the sake of peace and healing, both for you and her. God understands your heart, and I pray you find the strength to make the choice that brings you peace, whatever that may be. So, Karen, what do you think Reginald should do in this situation?
Well, on one hand, he's been patient for years, and that is admirable. But on the other hand, no one should be constantly walking on eggshells. It's exhausting.
And Patricia's clearly struggling. It's hard when you love someone, but they don't see their own issues.
Right. Maybe she doesn't even realize how much it's affecting him, but he can't lose himself trying to help her either.
It's a tough balance for sure. He's stuck between loyalty and his own well-being.
Both sides here are valid. It's just so much to carry. I hope they'll work it out, like I always work things out for everyone.
Yeah, you keep living that dream, Karen.
Silence, you fool.
Am I the jerk for changing my assigned seat at a wedding because of the woman next to me? I went to a wedding recently, and honestly, I was looking forward to it. A good friend of mine was getting married, and I knew it was going to be a beautiful day. The ceremony itself was perfect, the venue was gorgeous, and everything seemed to be going smoothly. That is, until I sat down at my assigned seat for the reception. I was placed next to this woman I didn't know, but she was a friend of the bride. I smiled politely and sat down, but within seconds, she started talking. I figured, all right, it's a wedding. People are excited. It's fine. But wow, she did not stop talking. At first, it was small talk, like where I'm from, how long I've known the bride, things like that. But then it quickly spiraled into something else. She started talking about the wedding's details, correcting the staff when they made a small mistake. She went on and on about how the bride was so close to her and how privileged she was to be a part of everything. She seemed to think that her close connection to the bride gave her the right to critique every little thing, like how the food was served, how the napkins were folded, and even the way that the bride was holding her glass. As the night went on, it became more and more difficult to ignore. Karen, as I'll call her, wasn't just talking about the wedding. She started bragging about her connection to the bride, telling everyone how she was the one who helped with the flowers and how she knew the bride better than anyone else. Every sentence felt like a humble brag, and I found myself getting more and more irritated. I tried to be polite, but it was overwhelming. Then she started correcting other people's manners. Someone accidentally bumped a table while reaching for a drink, and Karen made a whole statement about how careless they were and how people don't know how to behave at weddings. At this point, I was done. I wasn't going to sit through hours of this. I could feel myself getting more and more overstimulated, and I knew if I didn't move, I was going to snap. So I quietly switched seats. I wasn't making a big deal out of it. I didn't want to cause any drama. I just moved a few rows back, found a quieter spot, and tried to relax for the rest of the evening. I figured it would be fine. Unfortunately, it wasn't. As soon as I moved, Karen noticed and started whispering to people. I didn't think much of it at first, but then the bride, my friend, came up to me later in the night, looking upset. She pulled me aside and asked if everything was okay. I tried to explain that I was just feeling overwhelmed by the conversation next to me and I needed a little more quiet. I apologized and explained that I wasn't trying to cause trouble, but I just couldn't sit through it anymore. But to my surprise, the bride looked hurt. She said that I had made the evening awkward for her, especially since Karen had already told several people I was acting strange and emotionally unstable. The way Karen had framed it made it sound like I was having some sort of breakdown at the wedding, which couldn't have been further from the truth. I was just overstimulated and needed some space. I tried to reassure her, telling her I wasn't upset at her, just at the situation. But the damage was done. Karen had already created this story in the background, and now, not only did I feel like I had upset the bride, but I also felt like I had been painted as the one who ruined the mood. Later on, I overheard some people talking, and I caught snippets like, "Did you see her move? I thought she couldn't handle the noise," and "She seemed a little off." I didn't want to eavesdrop, but it was hard not to hear it when they were talking loud enough for everyone around to catch. Karen was right there, and I could see her nodding along, making it clear she was adding her own spin to the story. I wasn't trying to cause any drama, but I could tell the mood had shifted, and I just wanted to fade into the background. But I stayed. I didn't want to make things worse, and I still wanted to be there for my friend on her big day. By the end of the night, I felt drained, embarrassed, and frustrated. I wasn't trying to cause a scene, but in the end, it felt like I had caused a bigger one than I ever intended. Now, I can't help but wonder if I overreacted. Did I really have the right to move? Was I being selfish for needing space at a wedding that wasn't about me? I feel guilty about upsetting the bride, but at the same time, I genuinely needed a break from the chaos. Am I the jerk for changing my seat? Not the jerk. You're not required to sit through hours of someone talking your ear off and acting like they own the wedding. Karen was being obnoxious, and the fact that she couldn't even let you enjoy a peaceful meal without lecturing you on weddings shows that she's the problem. You didn't cause any drama. You just moved to get away from hers. The bride should have understood that, and she probably will eventually. You needed space, and that's completely fair. Okay, Karen was insufferable, but switching seats in the middle of a wedding wasn't the best move either. I get that you were overstimulated, but it's important to consider how your actions affect others. The bride's day was about celebrating with her, and switching seats could have made her feel hurt or confused. It's tough, but sometimes we just need to power through a few hours for a friend. Karen wasn't great, but a little more patience could have saved the day. You're the jerk, but hopefully you'll learn from this and handle similar situations differently in the future. You just had to sit next to OP, didn't you?
The bride wanted me there. Someone had to keep things in check.
Right, because nothing says wedding fun like a one-woman manners police.
I was just making sure everything was perfect.
Well, mission accomplished. But I'll make a note to never sit next to you at weddings.
Who would want to sit next to you anyways, Reddit boy? Your head's too big and you smell like cheese.
That's all for now, but don't be blue. We'll be back soon with more stories for you. Remember to listen to Mr. Redder every night, so your dreams will be wonderful like you are and bright. Now click this playlist, come follow along. We'll be right here. Until then, so long.